Hmm. What is going on, everybody? I'd like to welcome you guys back to Red's World. So today, now I'm just playing. So today we're getting into, as you can see right here, we're getting into day 7 of Red Spooky Specials. If you guys don't know what that is, every single day of October, I'm doing Halloween themed content, scary, ominous vibes, all of that kind of stuff. Um, one second. To start off today, I got a video for us to watch. So that's what we're gonna do first. This is the age of... My girlfriend sent this to me, said I should react to it. Said it's not exactly scary per se, but kind of like that ominous vibe or whatever. So, let's see. Hold up, can't hear nothing. Why does this dude look like Matthias from Good Mythical, or not Good Mythical Morning? What was that? Dope or Nope? Bro looks just like Matthias. Alright, yeah, we're going. There we go, there we go. Alright, so like I said, I don't know, it says the Rasputin of the Bronx, the unkillable Iron Mike Malloy. I don't know what this is about. We're gonna watch this one, and then we're gonna get into some No, I'm Not Human, but that's what we're starting with today. Y'all can't really hear that, can you? Let me see what's going on. Let me see what's going on. There's always something going on. Ooh. Bam. 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 Okay. It should be on then. Oh, I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. Yep. Alright, there we go. Alright, my bad if this is a little loud. I'm gonna have to adjust it as we go.
As previously covered
Yo,
in
yo,
our
yo,
video,
yo,
the
yo.
mystery and airline bombing and the last to hang in Canada, life insurance policies used to be disturbingly easy to take out on a person without their knowledge, meaning a suitably unscrupulous person could potentially cash in big time provided their victim's death could be made to look like an accident. But for one cabal of would-be fraudsters in 1930s New York City, the supposedly easy scam proved far more than they bargained for, as their intended victim managed to shrug off a series of increasingly desperate attempts to remove him from this plane of existence.
Honestly, it's kind of crazy to think about. Like, there's so many things that we don't even know people used to exploit. Like, for instance, um, life insurance policies and things like that. Like, we know that there wasn't really cameras, but imagine how easy it was to, like, destroy a paper trail. Like, there's a paper trail, but the paper trail only exists because it's documented now. Just having papers means almost nothing now. So imagine how much stuff people got away with back in the day.
This is the incredible and absurd story of Iron Mike Malloy, the most unkillable person in history. Our story begins in 1932, a period of US history lodged squarely between the tail ends of Prohibition.
What are they pouring into the sewer? What is that? I know he said prohibition, so is that alcohol?
And the darkest depths of the Great Depression. At the time, the unemployment rate in New York City had climbed to nearly 50%, leaving tens of thousands of residents jobless and desperate. Among these was Michael Malloy, a 60-year-old Irishman from County Donegal living in New York's Bronx neighborhood. A former firefighter, chronic alcoholism had prevented Malloy from holding down a steady job, and by the early 1930s, he was living as a homeless drunk, spending most of his waking hours drifting from speakeasy to speakeasy and taking occasional jobs as a janitor to feed his liquid diet. He was, as an editorial in the Daily Mirror later put it, part of the flotsam and jetsam in the swift current of underworld speakeasy life, those no longer responsible derelicts who stumble through the last days of
I
their
feel like I've
lives
seen the
repeating
flotsam and
lies
jetsam before.
of
I've never understood what it
Among the many
means.
speakeasies frequented by Malloy was one at 3804 3rd Avenue, owned by Anthony Tony Marino. At first, Malloy, who would sit at the bar from sunup to sundown, knocking back endless shots of whiskey, was welcomed as a local customer. When it became clear that Malloy had no intention of ever paying his ever-mounting bar tab, he found himself cut off and banned from the free lunch tray. Yet Malloy continued to hang around, bumming drinks off the speakeasy's more affluent patrons with his rambling anecdotes and boisterous Irish charm. All of this changed one evening in January 1933 as Marino was conferring with four of his closest associates: Joseph Murphy, a former chemist now working as a bartender in the speakeasy; Frank Pasqua, an undertaker who ran a funeral parlor on East 117th Street in Manhattan; taxi cab driver.
Well, and see, that's kind of what I was saying. Like, okay, so let's just assume that you have a friend who's a mortician and a friend who's a cop. Like, if you think there's some corruption going on now, imagine how easy it would be to be corrupt back then. You could do whatever you wanted and no one would know.
Harry Green and grocer Daniel Kreisberg. The mood among the five men was grim. The worsening Great Depression was cutting ever deeper into the speakeasy's business, pushing Marino to the brink of financial ruin. It was then that Frank Pasqua spotted the figure of Mike Malloy slumped across the bar, and he had a brainwave. Why not kill the old drunk and collect on his life insurance, turning a liability into a handsome payday? Marino was enthusiastic. After all, the group pulled off the same scam once before. In the spring of 1932, the five men had conspired to take out an $800 insurance policy on Marino's then-girlfriend's one, Miss Betty Carlson. Then, one cold night, Marino plied Miss Carlson with liquor until she was blackout drunk, and then escorted her back to her apartment, where he stripped her naked, doused her in water, and left her by an open window. The next morning, she was found dead. Conveniently, the coroner gave the cause of death as pneumonia, allowing Marino and company to collect on the insurance. Killing Malloy, the men figured, would be even easier on account of his advanced age and his alcoholism.
Well, and so obviously the mortician, or whatever you want to call it, the coroner, said that the cause of death was pneumonia. Well, imagine how little they knew about health back then and science. So, like, if you're taking into consideration the fact that quite literally not having cameras, not having the medical tools they have now, forensics, all of the stuff we have now, if you take all of that stuff into consideration, and then you also take into consideration they could be friends with these people, so on and so forth, it could very easily just be that they looked over it, Say, for instance, with the Dilatov Pass, the reason they may not have investigated that more thoroughly is because to us, we're looking at it and we're going, well, clearly something more happened. Well, to a coroner back then, it's possible that they were like, well, none of these other signs are really persistent amongst anything else that we've studied, but we do know that hypothermia does this, and they had that. So clearly they were in the cold for a while, not factoring in that other things could have killed them, so on and so forth, but that's all they knew at the time. So it's like, it's not giving them a pass. Clearly there's also some corruption in a lot of cases, but like, just ignorance alone would make it so much harder.
With Pasqua pointing out, he looks all in. He ain't got much longer to go anyhow. The stuff is getting him. Their dastardly plan in hand, the five men entered a new agreement, which the press would later dub the Murder Trust. The first order of business would be to take out a life insurance policy on Malloy without his knowledge. While far easier than today, this was still far from a straightforward process, and accounts differ as to just how the Murder Trust accomplished this feat. According to one version of events, Frank Pasqua recruited an unnamed accomplice to pose as Nicholas Malloy, stand-in for Mike Malloy, and together the pair secured the services of an unscrupulous insurance agent. Another version of the story has the Murder Trust tricking an inebriated Malloy into signing the insurance papers under the guise of a petition to elect Tony Marino to local office. Whatever the case, the trust succeeded in obtaining 3 insurance policies totaling $3,576, or around $70,000 in today's money. All 3 policies contained a double
It's a lot of money.
indemnity clause, meaning double the value would be paid out if the
Not
insured
enough to
suffered
commit a
an
stupid
accidental
crime
death.
if you're going to
Nicholas
get
Merrily,
caught.
aka Mike Malloy's age, was given as 45 to cut down insurance premiums, while bartender Joseph Murphy was named next of kin and beneficiary. The rest of the Murder Trust would receive their shares later from Murphy's payout. Next came the task of actually killing Malloy. This, the trust assumed, would be the easy part. They had only to let the whiskey flow freely, and the old souse would quickly drink himself into the grave. There was only one catch. After months of being cut off, Mallory might grow suspicious at suddenly having his tab reopened. As luck would have it, however, New York speakeasies were engaged in a bit of price war, allowing Marino to explain away his sudden extension of unlimited credit as a way of remaining competitive and retaining a loyal customer. He even provided his victim with a mattress in the back of the bar to sleep off his hangovers. Malloy, as expected, took to this arrangement like a fish to water. The Murder Trust gleefully rubbed their hands, eagerly awaiting the moment when he would finally drink his last. Unfortunately, Malloy's liver, hardened by a lifetime of drinking, proved more resilient than the Murder Trust had anticipated, and despite knocking back enough whiskey to fill the East River, Mike Malloy remained very much alive, forcing Marino and his accomplices to rethink their strategy. Joseph Murphy, drawing on his knowledge of
I'm gonna be honest. I don't mind this guy telling the story, but it's kind of weird. His tonality almost sounds news-like, and I'm just staring at him for some reason. I wish he would have just, like, made it this boxier, even just the weird little graphics he's showing, because it would be so much easier for me to just pay attention to what he's saying opposed to his mannerisms.
Chemistry suggested that they try methanol, or wood alcohol, then commonly used as car antifreeze. As covered in our previous video, can you really make yourself immune to poison by taking tiny doses over time? And the forgotten plague during Prohibition, when methanol is ingested, an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase metabolizes it first into formaldehyde and then into formic acid. This attacks the nervous system and inhibits cellular respiration, leading to permanent blindness, coma, and eventually death. But while as little as 15 milliliters of methanol is enough to kill a grown man, Mike Malloy cheerfully pounded back gallons of the stuff with seemingly no ill effects. Malloy's remarkable resistance to methanol likely resulted from him consuming regular ethanol alongside the poison shots. Ethanol is preferentially metabolized by alcohol dehydrogenase, allowing the methanol to be harmlessly excreted by the body. Indeed, ethanol is one of the most common and effective treatments for methanol poisoning. Having struck out twice, the Murder Trust tried spiking Malloy's drinks with increasingly toxic substances, including turpentine, horse liniment, and even rat poison, but all to no avail. Mallory's iron gut withstood them all.
So this dude's just drinking everything.
And whiskey, Frank Pasqua left some oysters out in the sun until they were completely spoiled, soaked them in methanol, and then gave them to Malloy. When this attempt also inexplicably failed, the increasingly bad...
So this is what's crazy. Not only is he drinking rat poison, horse tranquilizer, and all of these other things, he's literally... Why are you continuing to drink this stuff? Surely it can't taste good. Surely it's a little weird. Why are you still taking stuff from them? Like, I don't know. Bro is a blockhead for sure.
The exasperated Murder Trust concocted the ultimate deadly snack, a rotten sardine sandwich garnished with a nasty combination of carpet tags, broken glass, and metal shavings. Malloy downed the meal with relish, licked his fingers, and knocked back several more shots of methanol before stumbling out of the door and heading home. At last, confident of victory, Marino and his accomplices eagerly awaited news of Malloy's death, either from food poisoning or stomach hemorrhage. But the following afternoon, the speakeasy door swung open, and guess who walked in? Well, it was no other than Mike Malloy, still very much alive and hungry for another song.
What are you watching? I am watching The Rasputin of the Bronx, the unkillable Iron Mike Malloy. Apparently, back in the day, people were taking out life insurance claims on each other and then trying to kill each other. And they couldn't get this guy. He was drinking poisons and all kinds of stuff, and somehow he was surviving. So I'm curious if they're gonna end up telling me like he had a fake stomach or something that he's just, or if he's just got an insanely lucky tolerance to this stuff, and so on and so forth. I'm curious to see how this works.
sardine and carpet tack sandwich, apparently. It was by now clear to the murder trust that nothing they could feed Malloy could possibly kill him, so they turned to a method which had served them well before. Hypothermia. One particularly cold night when temperatures dipped to minus 26 Celsius, Marino and Murphy served Malloy drinks until he passed out, bundled his unconscious body into Harry Green's taxi, and drove him to Claremont Park. There, they stripped Malloy naked.
So once again, this dude is like, good lord, of all of the things. I love drinking gallons of poison glass and nails. Hey, to each their own. You might be the modern day Iron Mike Malloy. But this idiot got, like, he went and got drunk again. Like, bro didn't have the poops or nothing. He didn't need to go, like, at no point he was like, man, I'm gonna stop going to that bar, man. They're messing me up or nothing. Bro's just like, hey, I'm gonna go over here. Like, what in the world? Exactly, with the same people. And then they're still doing stuff to him. Like,
him in the snow and doused him in water and left him to freeze.
threw him in the snow,
morning,
covered him in water.
Speakeasy, the murder trust scoured the local papers for news of his death. They found none. Yet the gang remained optimistic. After all, it would take some time for the police to discover the body. But this hope was dashed the following morning as Mike Malloy staggered once more through the speakeasy door, seemingly reinvigorated and wearing a brand new set of clothes.
If bro was smart, he would be like the Batman of, I don't even know, like the Superman of this generation or something. Like, he's like, hey man, freezing out there in the cold wasn't the greatest, but I'm here for more alcohol. Like, what? This dude's so dumb, he was probably like, man, I keep getting so wasted, I just keep doing stupid stuff to myself. Like, bro, they left you out to die in the cold. How are you not putting this together? One would think he would at least fight him or something.
After being dumped, Malloy had been discovered by the police, who took him to a welfare organization where he was fed and reclothed. With seemingly no memory of how he ended up in the park, Malloy ordered his first drink of the day and cheerfully returned to his usual routine. Realizing they were completely out of their depth, the murder trust decided to call in an expert, mob hitman Anthony Tough Tony Bastone. The following night, Bastone, Marino, and Harry Green once again bundled the semi-conscious Malloy into Green's taxi, drove him to the deserted intersection of Baychester Avenue and Gun Hill Road, and attempted to run him over. But on the first attempt, the irritatingly lucky Malloy managed to wander out of the way, so Green missed him. So for the second attempt, Marino and Bastone held Malloy still in the middle of the road while Green barreled towards him, only jumping.
So they hired somebody to run him over. He stumbled out of the way, the car missed him. Then they're holding him in place. Is he gonna realize they're trying to kill him?
Clear at the last moment. This time the car struck true, Malloy flying like a ragdoll over the hood and landing in a pile on the pavement. There, his assassins left him as they fled back to Marino's speakeasy to celebrate the victory. The next day brought no sign.
I'm not going through all of this. I'm just gonna stab you or something. Like, what are we doing? You would still get the life insurance policy. If you die, you die. Like, good lord, I know they don't want it to be investigated, but double the life insurance if it's an accident. Hey, I'm taking half then. It is what it is. We gotta get him out of here.
Well, the next, or the one after that. After 2 weeks had passed, the murder trust was confident Malloy had finally gone to the great speed.
Also, I'm say this. This sounds stupid, but bro didn't catch on when you were giving him nails and poison. Keep giving it to him. I don't care how good his tolerance is. He ain't gonna live for too long. But even then, that's crazy because that would be deemed, a crime. I don't know how good the forensics and stuff was back then, but I'm pretty sure they would know he had glass and nails in his stomach.
Sky, but they would have to prove it to the insurance companies. The gang scoured the newspaper obituaries for news of Malloy's death. They found none. They phoned every hospital and morgue in the city. Still no Malloy. The old drunk had seemingly vanished from the face of the earth, and with him the murder trust's chances of a handsome payday. With Bastone's patience running thin, he suggested that they find another bum, run him over, identify him as Malloy, and collect the insurance money. The murder trust duly found a suitable target, a regular patron named Joe Murray, and proceeded to repeat their caper, running over a drunken Murray with Green's taxi and stuffing Malloy's identity papers into his pocket. But Murray proved just as durable as Malloy, and despite his injuries...
Or maybe their strategies are just trash.
Full recovery within 2 months. Adding insult to injury, 3 weeks after his disappearance, Mike Malloy himself stumbled into Marino's speakeasy, seemingly none the worse for wear. He apologized.
Bro's like Jesus. He disappears for 3 days and comes back. Why do we not have holidays based off of this guy?
For his absence, explaining that he'd been in a car accident and suffered a concussion and a broken shoulder. The hospital, it turned out, had simply forgotten to list him as a patient. Then, as if nothing had happened, Malloy took his usual seat at the bar and ordered his first drink. By now, the murder trust's patience had run out. There would be no half measures this time. Whatever it took, Mike Malloy would die. Thus, on February the 22nd, 1933, Joseph Murphy and Daniel Kreisberg dragged an unconscious Malloy to Murphy's apartment on Fulton Avenue. As Murphy laid Malloy on the bed, Kreisberg connected a rubber hose to the apartment's coal gas jet and stuffed the other end into Malloy's mouth, holding it there until Malloy's face went purple and he stopped breathing. After shrugging off nearly 20 attempts on his life, the indestructible iron Mike Malloy was finally dead, done in by carbon monoxide poisoning. The next day, the murder trial.
I mean, good Lord, you went through all of that trouble and it was obviously a murder. Just stab him. What are you doing? If he's blacked out, just go ahead and stab him in his jugular. What are we doing? Why are you doing all of this? You thought they was gonna come in and be like, oh, he was sucking the gas out of his gas hose, which will probably be what they're about to say because that's just how things work. But what in the world?
Paid corrupt coroner and ex-alderman Dr. Francis Manzella to write the death certificate. Manzella gave the cause of death as lobar pneumonia with alcoholism as a contributing factor. Frank Pasqua then took care of the funeral arrangements.
Are you kidding me? Did they say he was friends with them or something? To say it was low bowel pneumonia and what else?
Certificate. Manzella gave the cause of death as lobar pneumonia with alcoholism as a contributing.
Alcoholism. Are you kidding me? I can't remember if they said they were friends. That's the only way. That's literally the only way.
Factor. Frank Pasqua then took care of the funeral arrangements, burying Malloy in a $10 pine coffin and a $12 plot in the paupers section of Burncliffe Cemetery in Westchester. Meanwhile, Murphy collected the $800 payout from Metropolitan Life and distributed it among the murder trust conspirators. Despite the absurd lengths that they
800.
been
Jeez.
forced to go to, the gang, it seemed, had succeeded in pulling off the perfect crime. But as you might have noticed, Marino and his accomplices were hardly criminal masterminds, and before long they began breaking the first 2 rules of murder trust.
Talking about
Do
it?
not talk about murder trust.
Yeah.
Fueled by the
Shocker.
gang's indiscreet talk, rumors of Mike the Durable began to circulate in speakeasies all around town, eventually reaching the ears of the Bronx police. At the same time, agents from the Prudential Life Insurance Company sought out Joseph Murphy to hand him his insurance payout, only to discover he was in jail on unrelated charges. This raised suspicions among the agents, who duly contacted the police. When officers investigated and uncovered that an actual Iron Mike Malloy had died on February the 22nd with multiple life insurance policies taken out in his name, they ordered his body exhumed and autopsied. Medical examiners quickly determined that Malloy had actually died of carbon monoxide poisoning and that the death...
Hey, look at that. You talk about it before he completely decays, they do an autopsy, and all of a sudden, you going to jail.
It was falsified. From here, the whole plot quickly unraveled. A professional hitman told investigators
1210 something Avenue?
that Marino and his accomplices had tried to hire him to kill Malloy, but found his $500 fee too expensive, while Harry Green, who had been denied his full share of the insurance payout, began cooperating with police in exchange for a lighter sentence. Finally, investigators learned of the mysterious death of Miss Betty Carlson, whose life insurance policy named Tony Marino as a beneficiary. Based on this overwhelming evidence, the 5 core members of the murder trust were arrested and charged with murder, with Dr. Francis Manzella being held as an accessory after the fact.
And I'm sure they all started
Tried
snitching
August
on each other.
Courthouse, the jury deliberating for 5 hours before returning a verdict. Harry Green and Dr. Manzella received lengthy prison sentences, while Tony Marino, Joseph Murphy, Frank Pasqua, and Daniel Kreisberg were sentenced to death. The 4 conspirators met their ends in the electric chair at New York Sing.
Dude, I can only imagine how bad jail was back then. Man. Good Lord, I can only imagine how bad it was. Because you gotta think, I don't remember exactly what year they said this happened, but there was, like, child labor. There weren't as many regulations and, like, FDA and, like, OSHA regulations and stuff like that. So, like, you could probably feed people straight up dookie juice and they would not even care. Like, man.
Prison. Kreisberg, Marino, and Pasqua were executed on the 7th of June, and Murphy on the 5th of July, 1934. Meanwhile, Iron Mike Malloy, the seemingly unkillable Rasputin of the Bronx, passed into New York legend, one of the many absurd characters in the folklore of the city that...
That's pretty crazy, though.